I don't remember even feeling the pain. I just remember the sound of Johnny's voice. He got next to my ear and he was screaming over and over and over again. Each time it sounded louder and more desperate. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Over and over.
If she had referred to me as being a monster, there was no way that I was going to sit there and go through a 45-minute argument about, you know, you're a monster. No, I'm not. You're a monster. No, I'm not. You're a monster. No, I'm not.
Not since the O.J. Simpson trial has the world been captivated and riveted by the ongoing saga of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. We've heard from both of them some pretty bizarre behavior on both accounts. But the $50 million defamation suit that Depp has launched against Amber Heard has many questions about the future of not only his employment, but hers. With me is Sunira Chaudhri, the founding partner of Workley Law and the Toronto Sun's legal analyst. Sunira, this is one of the big elements of the thrust of what Depp is saying is, because of her op-ed in the Washington Post, I can't get work, I can't get employed. But as this trial goes on, and if, let's for argument's sake, I'm going to make you speculate a bit, if he is found to be successful in this, what are his options moving forward?
First of all, a $50 million defamation suit, I think that's a big headline grab. Whether or not he's going to get $50 million, well, really, it's all based in employment. It's whether or not Johnny Depp can establish that, first of all, he was defamed by Ms. Heard in this op-ed post back in 2018, and whether or not that directly related to the fallout he had with Disney, with any other film opportunities that we had. We do know that he was dropped from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. He alleges just after that op-ed came out. And in that op-ed, we know that Amber Heard, his ex-wife, basically said she was a victim of domestic violence. Of course, this is in the Me Too period where this news was very hot. And he says he was canceled. He lost a lot of opportunities. In the opening argument of the trial, his lawyer says, words to the effect, nobody wants to touch somebody who has been accused of abuse. No film studio wants to do that. So Johnny Depp has to prove this, tie the op-ed to his loss of employment. And I think he's doing a relatively good job so far. He says within a couple of days of getting this op-ed or seeing this op-ed, Disney drops him. So is there a direct link? Is it because of that? Are there other factors like his self-proclaimed drug abuse, alcohol use? That's yet to be seen. But the real thrust of this case is him proving his losses when it comes to his work. And he says that these reputational sort of jabs have not just affected his family, but have really impacted his ability to work as an actor.
And the threshold is very high when it comes to defamation. You have to really reach all marks when it comes to what is prescribed within the law to be successful in a defamation suit. And the last where sort of the trial is left off, and we'll be resuming shortly, was Amber Heard herself, her testimony. And this is a jury trial. So it was her recounting of events and her emotional testimony that is sort of ruminating and resonating with the jurors right now. She also, Sunira, talked about how her own future employment can be and will be impacted by this. I mean, let's face it, these two have aired, shall we say, a lot of dirty laundry in public. And with corporations, with sort of the way things are being dealt with nowadays, everybody wants sort of zero risk. They don't want a high maintenance star. They don't want high risk. They want any of those things. So let's sort of pivot to her for a moment in terms of the sort of work future that she potentially is looking at.
I think the airing of her dirty laundry, as you put it, Adrienne, is going to be absolutely damaging for her. There is a countersuit in this case. So she does allege that just by virtue of being defendant here, she's going to suffer some losses as well, which her legal team pointed out in their opening argument. I think it's really interesting that this week and a half break does come up now, because I agree with you that the evidence that the jury is left with most recently is that of Ms. Heard's. I think absolutely we're going to see that she is being cast in a frankly a very negative light, one where she's coming across as in some cases very unpredictable, unfair, unhinged. And of course, these allegations are going to have a negative impact on her reputation in the industry. I mean, going back to Me Too for a moment, I don't know of many actors that have had the opportunity to have the allegations cast against them, at least in the court of public opinion, actually tried by a jury or tried in court. But we do know that they've still been canceled. I mean, the allegation in most cases are enough. And that's exactly what sort of Johnny Depp is saying here. Doesn't matter what happens at the end of this trial, he said at the close of the direct examination in his case, he says it doesn't matter because this allegation is going to follow me around for the rest of my days. So I absolutely think that the flip side to that is Miss Heard is probably going to see the same thing happen to her. But the question is did she foresee this coming? Is this absolutely by design? And the consequences of her making what Johnny Depp says, false allegations in an op-ed post, in the Washington Post.
So I think that brings up an interesting point with respect to the knee-jerk reaction for canceling someone immediately. You know, it starts on social media and then it goes to sort of the corporate level where someone like Disney, for example, decides that they no longer want to have Johnny Depp part of their franchise, regardless if that was tied to the op-ed or if that was issues that they had on set with him, if he was a difficult actor, if there was all of these alleged drug and alcohol abuse that he has sort of professed to and has been accused of, if that played a factor in it. I think that there's also, I mean, Disney has an army of lawyers that they'll be able to defend themselves if he were to turn around and go after them for firing him without cause, for example. But I think that this puts into spotlight that ability for someone to defend themselves. You know, this is the need that we need to move away from just firing someone, canceling them immediately without sort of a fair billing, a fair hearing. Do you see this as sort of a start to some of that? Or is it just that the notion of Depp and Heard is so over the top, so crazy about what's going on in between both of their testimonies, that this is not necessarily a good measure for that?
I think what this is on the Me Too side, it is the sort of journey of the other victim of Me Too. I think it's an uncomfortable topic to take on, but a lot of people who have been the subject of allegations of Me Too say that there is absolutely no truth to the allegations made against them. Johnny Depp is one person who has taken on this battle, saying, I am going to make sure there are consequences for people making false allegations against me. That is, I'm going to take you to court alleging you've defamed me. I think that is the point he's trying to make here. When it comes to Disney, big corporations, I'm pretty sure they would be protected up the wazoo in terms of contracting out for any reputational risk. And I think it's interesting the point you raised as to why we haven't heard more about a suit between Depp and Disney, probably because that contract is rock solid when it comes to reputation and their ability to back out of continuing in the franchise with him. But to your last point, Adrienne, I think when it comes to COVID and people working remotely, we have been seeing this sort of advent of people taking on their supervisors, taking on their organizations on social media, thinking that they can do that with impunity, thinking that, I'm not going to have to face my boss tomorrow morning, so I can call out my organization online. And some employees have done that with some success, actually. We've seen some organizations really recoiling, getting any kind of bad press or bad PR online, and not actually subjecting their employees to any kind of discipline as a result of calling them out online. And because of that, I do think we are beginning to see this turn where employees are using social media, using their online platform to actually call out bad actors in their organizations, call out their organizations themselves. But the underbelly of that is if you do make false allegations, there could very well be consequences that people I don't think are really appreciating.
Absolutely. Let's just wrap up with looking forward to what we're going to be seeing once this trial resumes in a few short days.
I think what we're going to see is, I mean, it's a credibility contest, right? I think what we've seen in the first few weeks of the Depp evidence is a real public backing for his story. We've seen the absolute opposite so far for Ms. Heard, but really what the test is going to be for the jury and frankly for the judge is two things. For the jury, it is weighing the credibility of all of the witnesses and keeping the noise out. The role of the judge here is really going to be safeguarding her courtroom from the outside actors, primarily being Twitter and online platforms that where we all, including me, are making opinions about the trial and protecting that courtroom from those outside influences, because we all know the way the court of public opinion is weighing in on this trial. It's going to be the judge's tall order here to keep those actors outside of her courtroom.
And it's a believability factor, as you say. Are you team Heard or are you team Depp? Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.